Hello and welcome to the FDT TV podcast. This is week 10. Welcome back to both Ian and Phil, who have returned from their holidays. It's great to see you boys again. From the outset, I would like to apologise for my abysmal effort last week. I did the best I could, and I'm sorry.
Mike, it's so cold in this country. Coming back,
it is. It's horrible.
It's freezing.
Well, you two look very well rested and beautiful, and I'm so happy you're back.
Well rested, mate. I was doing 21,000 steps a day.
That's not rest.
I was up at 6 and in bed at 1. You know, it wasn't a holiday. It was like a get up and go. But
you still look beautiful.
Thank you,
I've missed your faces.
That's because I've brushed my beard, isn't it?
So yes,
so what we're here to talk about then, chaps? Football?
No, we're actually talking cricket this week.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Just going to recap on last week's.
I definitely inserted a cricket noise there.
So yeah, we're just going to recap last week's games. Apologies again, I made a bit of a cock up last week in relation to our fixtures because I kept saying Arsenal versus Bournemouth when it was Arsenal versus Brighton, but we will come on to that in a bit. So just looking at the fixtures that we had last week, Ian, I don't know if you want to go first, just because you were the first fixture of the weekend.
That was against Wolves, wasn't it?
Yes. So you.
I will admit I didn't see it because I was getting on a plane as it was kicked off. I was expecting a loss. I haven't actually gone back and watched the highlights because why would I want to? Yeah, it's just another loss for us without any real effort looking at it. That's about all I've got to say about that.
With that game, I noticed Antonio, who is a massive player, a massive part in the win against Chelsea, wasn't playing.
Yep. Allegedly, he was rested because he's not quite fully fit yet. And they thought he'd have more of an impact against Arsenal, which I think he played well in. But again, he's one of our main players who seems to put in an effort. So, yeah, it's a shame he didn't play against Wolves, but that's that, isn't it?
All right, so we'll come on to Liverpool versus Everton.
The derby. What a derby it was. Incredible goals from incredible players. We rested some players and put out a different formation, different squad, and we played in a slightly different way, which really worked well against Everton. Going for the more direct, going for the ball over the top, they just couldn't cope with the pace of the game. I think they got lucky with a couple of goals. I think there was a few defensive errors from Lovren, which was a bit frustrating to see, but then he does have them in his locker. But some incredible goals. Mane was insatiable that game. He was on fire. He'd absolutely just run Everton ragged. Produced an absolutely cracking pass to set up Origi for the first goal. He's got a good one himself, finally, after missing a few attempts, but really, really, really happy with the result. After, I think last year, Everton pushed us twice in 2 games for 90 minutes. And unfortunately, Everton just weren't the same level today. It's been 20 years since they've won, and 5-2, I think, was a fair result. And to see Marco being sacked afterwards, I know it's a bit sad, but I think Everton do need that change.
Don't lie, you were loving the fact he got sacked. You're like, yeah, that's because of us.
I think that was a long time coming, though. I mean, even when he was at Hull, he played well, but there wasn't really anything about him.
It's kind of a strange appointment.
And then he went to Watford, didn't he?
Yeah.
And did reasonably well there for Watford, but I feel
he was there quite a short time, wasn't he? He wasn't Watford long, and then he kind of got taken off thinking, he's going to do well.
Yeah,
but he just hasn't done anything at Everton.
No, I think he's quite one-dimensional as a manager. I think Everton should have let him sit at Watford for a whole season. really to see what was going to happen. I mean, his go-to seems to be bring in Richarlison and have lots of wingers, and it doesn't seem to work. And going forward, you look at some of the players that they've got, and you think they've got the potential there long term, or even short term as well, to be a force going forward. But defensively, they just look a bit.
He put 5 defenders out against us, and for half an hour they just got bullied and destroyed, and he had to change it. And bring on a more attacking player with Bernard, and that really did change the game for them. They became a bit more of a threat, but it wasn't enough.
No.
It's what it is.
One of those things.
Well, I think we all sort of expected that, though, didn't we?
Yeah.
Did any of you boys watch the game?
No.
I didn't see it, no.
I was in a different time zone, mate. Everything, even the AJ Ruiz fight, that was
anyone
on
out
10
there,
in the morning.
To everyone, you have to watch just the highlights, the goals. Some of the goals are just sublime.
Okay, I will check it out. But yeah, I was up in London at the time, so I didn't get a chance to see it. So we'll come on to the Arsenal-Bournemouth game.
I thought Bournemouth played really well, to be fair. Really badly at all.
They had a new kit as well, which is really nice.
Nice blue.
So Arsenal versus Brighton, what a bunch of crap that was. It's just the same old Arsenal that we've seen just recently. Going down in the first half, not really look like we're doing anything. We get a kind of a lucky looping header goal from Lacazette in the second half. Still plenty of time for Brighton to get the winner, and sure enough, they did. Just watching that game, it is so frustrating. And I know Freddie's only been at the helm for a couple of weeks now, but it just doesn't seem, or it didn't seem at that particular point, that anything had changed. It still looked like Emery tactics, Emery selections, and he just needed to kind of grab the ball by the horns and kind of go with it, which I don't think he did on that particular occasion. If you look at some of the players a couple of the players that he picked, I mean, he had Joe Willock in the team, who I thought was dreadful. There was a couple of times that I definitely think his confidence has been knocked, especially with Aubameyang proper having a go at him for a misplaced pass. And I get it. He is young. He still needs to learn. But I just don't think, with the position that we're in at the moment, we can afford to kind of blood through some of the youngsters as a given experience. I think we need to go strongest team possible that we've got, and go kind of hammer and tong at teams that we're playing. So that was another disappointing loss, and I think the less said about that game, the better.
But Mike, are the teenagers your best players though? Are these youngsters actually on the training pitch and in training coming across to the management better and a better pick for the match games?
This is the conversations that we've been hearing for a long time now. So for the likes of Ozil, we were told that he's not training very well, which is why he was getting kept off the pitch or on the bench. But it's very difficult to judge a situation, I feel. I mean, I'm not a manager, never been a manager, got no aspirations to do any kind of management. But I think it's very difficult for a manager to understand how a player plays in a match situation, because there's not the pressure of the fans getting behind you if you lose. In a training pitch scenario is completely different. So they might be running their absolute socks off in training, but again, I think you look at the Xhaka situation. Obviously, he was out of the side for a little bit, has come back in the last couple of games, and I've got to say it has played really well. There are still a couple of iffy moments that he's still got in his game, and which I don't think will ever go from his game, but we definitely look a lot more solid with him in the team. And the youngsters, I do think, yes, you could give them a chance, kind of depending on where we are later on in the season. But I mean, with the likes of Gabriel Martinelli, who will come on when we discuss the West Ham game, Ian, I said to a couple of people that, and I think I've said it before on this podcast, that this kid is something special. He's got hunger, he's got appetite, his willingness to work for the team. He is definitely one of my favourite transfers that we've had, considering he's come from a Brazilian no-nobber league. It's just a diamond in the rough, and I think providing that we can keep hold of him over the next couple of years, he's going to develop into a fantastic player, and a player that I think we've been missing for a little while.
Yeah, I think you are right in a certain respect. You've lost that aura of you around, we've got to play Arsenal, this is going to be a tough game and we're probably going to lose. At the minute, I think all the mid-table teams, or the top of the table teams, definitely think this, and I think a lot of the mid-tables are going, we can get 3 points here.
Yep.
There's not, I mean, the ones even down in the, say, relegation dogfire like us, it was a case of, all right, we might not win, but we can. This is definitely a drawable game. Like we can capitalise on that defensiveness.
Yeah, give them a go.
Yeah, we've got no identity. Well, I say we haven't got it. We've got a crap identity at the moment. One, as you said, that any team at the moment kind of fancies their chances against us because our defence is so ropey. But I mean, just looking at the game on Monday, for half an hour of it, it was like watching us from a couple of years ago. But it just needs to be that consistently going forwards.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying about Joe Willock. I think at the end of last year, he was one of those players who was coming on as a sub, and he was the only positive thing that was happening. He's got a bit more game time this year, and has he reached? I don't think he's reached his peak yet.
No,
but he's got to be nurtured in the right way, and whoever you get in, whether you keep Lundberg, whether you get Pochettino in, or Ancelotti, whoever it may be, has got to work with some of these youngsters because they are a good group seemingly. Coming through to get the best out of them and integrate them into that team, especially with a board that doesn't really want to spend any money.
I completely agree with you, but I just go back to my point that with our current situation at the moment, we need to be playing our strongest lineup just to get a run together of a few results, move us back up the table to where we should be. I'm not saying that we're going to be top 4, but definitely we should be fighting top 6 at least. But as it stands at the moment, I think even that's kind of a bit touch and go at the moment when you see some of the teams around us that are playing really well. I mean, Spurs, they've had a new lease of life under Jose Mourinho. And had they kept hold of Pochettino, I would have been laughing just because of the way that they were going. But under Mourinho, I'm now scared.
Do you know what the concerning thing is? From what I've heard, he will have a war chest of money to spend in January.
Well,
he's demanded it. Otherwise, look at where he's gone previously. He wants money to spend, and I don't think
he makes differences
unless he was guaranteed that.
Yeah. Tottenham need to have a clear out as well, don't they? Tottenham need to clear out, get new players in. But then one thing I was thinking, Mike, there is some positivity for you. I see Arsenal, if you can sort out your attack, then you'd be in a position that where we were a few years ago when we were scoring goals all the time, but our defence just let us down time and time after again. And that's where we were losing key matches and weren't able to fight for titles and cups and Europe. But there is hope there if you can get the right people in there to again make your defence better and get your attack firing, then you'll be unstoppable.
Thank you, Father Phil.
Yeah. I do have something to propose to you though, or a question to pose to you. You're saying about defensive frailties and bringing in people. Mustafi's still in the squad, isn't he?
Yes.
You're not sold him. A few years or 2 years ago, last season, seemed to be really good. Socrates again has taken a complete drop off in form. Rob Holding was out injured. You've got Callum Chambers, who is he quite up to the grade? Possibly not. But the big one is David Luiz, who seems to be the only player in the Arsenal team, or especially that defence, who has any confidence about him. But he's just lazy. So do you regret buying him?
No.
You don't?
No.
Is that because he can have a twin swap?
What, with Guendouzi?
Guendouzi, yeah.
But that's the thing, is he loses out on that as well, because I think Guendouzi's hair is better than his.
Well, yeah, he was obviously jealous of it because I think he pulled it in one match last year. But just going back on it, I think what you were saying there about our defenders and stuff, David Luiz, I think with his wealth of knowledge, his experience, he's a Premier League winner, a Champions League winner. He has got that experience there, but I do agree he does have that liability within him that has unfortunately cost us games or points recently. I mean, there's been a couple of games that I think he's been solid and outstanding, as far as the the rest of the defence goes. But I think he could. Yeah, it is. But I think what he will have is a wealth of experience that he can bring onto the team, and we've got him, I think, for another year after this year, which we already know we've got that centre back coming back up. Yeah, that we sent out on loan. So I think if he gets a chance to work with him next year, I think it can only be a good thing, because I don't think he's got many seasons left.
A thought on David Luiz, and I've thought about this for a while. I've heard it around for years now. Is he one of those defenders who is only seem good and great because of the other defenders that he's playing around him that make him look better and gives him an easier job?
Possibly. I think he's got the ability. He was one of the first ball playing defenders, wasn't he? That would run with the ball forward, put ball in. He can shoot. I think he may have been
as well.
Yeah, I think he may have been better as a position as a central defensive midfielder and sitting just in front of a four. But you think he played with John Terry in his prime, who, although I don't like him as a bloke, was one hell of a player. Mm-hmm. He played with Thiago Silva at PSG in a league that PSG team were far too good for. I mean, you had again Dani Alves on one side of him at one point, didn't he? So I just feel like you have got a point there that he's one of those players who's a decent player, but he's not a winner on his own. You wouldn't pick him out of a crowd and go, that's the one I want. You would pick other defenders over him.
You go for Dani Alves, you go to John Terry first.
Yeah, Thiago Silva, yeah, the likes of them. But I still feel like Frank Lampard got rid of him after. Bear in mind, he played in the same team as Lampard, and he won things with Lampard. He must have known that there's something about him that's not, one, got the quality, and two, I think he's got a toxic personality. He was part of those dressing rooms who turned on managers.
Yeah, you said that a couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
And I just feel like he come in, and one of the first things he did was get rid of David Luiz. That's a big shout, especially as he is a winner, a serial winner. You could say that he had some insight as to playing with him that he didn't want him in his team. They are arguably doing better than Arsenal are at the moment.
Yeah, well, no arguably about it. They definitely are.
That's just my humble opinion.
No.
Very valid.
Yeah, very, very valid. Well, I think we've done that game to death a bit now, so we'll move. Bournemouth versus Liverpool, Phil.
So
was this Bournemouth or was it Brighton? I thought it was Brighton playing Liverpool.
So this team played in black and red, so I'm guessing it's Bournemouth, and it was at the Vitality Stadium as well. So I'll give it this one. It was actually Bournemouth, but I think we played them at the right time. Bournemouth can be a tricky team at home, but they're in trouble. They've got so many injury problems, which is not at all good in any shape or form, and that played in our favour. And I think the game was tough to start off with until Nathan Ake got injured. And I think that was a big turning point in the game for us. Because as soon as he went off, we scored a minute later, in a couple of minutes. They then could not cope with our forward three. They then started playing around them, even though we had Mane off for the game and we had brought in Mo back. And Firmino was on the bench for quite a lot of it as well. I thought we played very well. We were solid at the back. We were able to defend as a pack and a unit and stop them from doing what they wanted to. And we just took advantage of it, of their injuries, and literally pushed them. And I think got two good goals. Two fairly good goals, I thought. Firmino's little bit of trickery when he came on was really, really good to see. I think Lovren went off quite early, which I was quite pleased to see. He has got troubles in him, and bringing on Trent is always good because he can really make a difference to spraying the ball around and in his creativity. So overall, fairly happy result for me.
And you saw a lot of impotence in attack.
Don't start that again.
Impotence from Bournemouth.
Now, see, you say about Bournemouth have got some troubles at the minute. I think their troubles are going to end up being even bigger. Chelsea can sign players again.
Yeah.
Bournemouth's arguably one of their better players, or best player, is Nathan Ake, who's got a £40 million buyback clause.
Nothing to Chelsea, is it?
It's not, but I can't see him not trying to bring him back. He grew up as a Chelsea lad around that area, as a Chelsea fan, come through their academy. I think he would be biting at the chance to go back and prove himself in the first team. I mean, we've been linked with Eddie Howe, so if he leaves, who's he going to take with him? There's a number of those players who I think would quite happily leave with him. They've got the smallest stadium in the Premier League now that Huddersfield have gone. I just think that Eddie Howe has done a very good job with them, and that's going to fall apart when he eventually comes to West Ham. Hey!
I did hear that today, actually. I did hear that banded around today.
He's been linked with us, and I think for him, in terms of potential monetary value for him, in terms of the stadium, in terms of the budget that you've got to work with, it's going to be larger at West Ham. It's not going to be astronomical, but I think for us it'd be one hell of a signing. But also for him, it is a step up. That I mean, we're less likely to get. Say this now, we're less likely to get relegated under him than Bournemouth are.
Yeah,
because they can go, right, we need this player, let's go and spend 25 million on him, where Bournemouth not necessarily going to do that.
I think that
shipping players out.
I think that very much depends on when you bite the bullet on Pelligrini, because you might already be in that position anyway, in which case would he come to you knowing if you are potentially in that position, if that makes sense.
I think he'd bring Callum Wilson with him. Callum Wilson, Haller up front, I think would work much better than Haller on his own. Sell a couple. But
he's a good manager. He's done an amazing job at Bournemouth.
But he's one of those that we've said it week after week. Him, Sean Dyche, those sorts of managers are very particular with who they buy, and they want someone who's going to put in the effort. Very rarely do you say, oh, there's a Bournemouth player who didn't try there, or a Burnley player who didn't give 100%. It just doesn't seem to happen. So you think if he can instill that in some of the players who are already doing that at West Ham, and then bring in a few more that will do it, we'll shoot right up the table again. Just hope so.
And you'll be happy again, Ian. You'll be happy.
It's not even necessarily about... I don't even necessarily want to win everything, you know? I just want to be competitive.
Yeah.
Watch good football.
It's not even about watching good football. It's about no, and this is what winds me up about West Ham fans. They say we want the West Ham way, which is what we're doing. We're trying to play attractive football and doing badly at it. You know, that's essentially the West Ham way. What I want to see is every player giving 100%. And if we lost 4-0 every game, yes, I'd be annoyed. But providing there was absolutely nothing left in the tank and those players run their hearts out the entire game, I'd be happy with that. Trouble is, they don't do that. They walk about, they stumble about, they don't look interested, they don't put in the effort, they don't make the runs. And look at what David Moyes did with us compared to what was happening under Bilic. He was making them run, and we were getting results. And then Arnautovic we could have sold for even more than what we did, and we refused to. And then he went for almost nothing again because he was being made to put in that effort. and once the whole team started to put in that effort, they made each other start to look good. And I think that's imperative to what Klopp's done at Liverpool. You've not necessarily got the best player in every position, but they all
work so hard.
They work hard every game.
It's the same with Leicester at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is, but that's it, and I think that's partly. I think if Arsenal did that, which I think is seemingly what Lundberg is trying to instill in them, you've got to work hard for 90 minutes every week. You're going to do a lot better, and I think we would, because we have got players who've got the quality, but it's just they don't put in the effort. Felipe Anderson hasn't scored in 12 months. All right, yes, 3 of them we don't play any football, but he was our record signing. He's this player that everyone thinks is fantastic. He's got like 4 goals. It's not really.
I've really been disappointed for you in Snodgrass when he came over. He's just not been the same.
Snodgrass.
He can be so much better.
Snodgrass was loaned out. He was played out of position, and he was sort of forced out the team. Went to Aston Villa, played really well there. Got goals, got assists in the Championship. Come back to us, and he's got a few goals. He's got a few assists. But we're now 3 years on. You know, from when he was in his prime and having the season of his life. But he's one of the players who puts in effort. Even Mark Noble, Declan Rice, Diop seems to put in an effort. You know, there's a few of them about the team, but there's a majority of them don't put in any effort.
And they can't carry, can they?
No, and that's a frustrating thing.
And I think that's how, or that has been our problem as well for the last 10, 11 games that we've had. Just not a lot.
10 or 11 years then?
No. No, 10 or 11 games where you could. There's a select few within the team that, as you just said about West Ham, and that do kind of work their bollocks off. But there are a couple. Well, there are more than a couple which just haven't been putting in the effort, and it's been showing because we've been losing, drawing from winning positions, and it's just not been good enough.
And to be fair, in the high levels and the high standards of professional football, it only takes one player, one person in that team not to pull their weight, and it can be disastrous.
Well, it is a team game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yes, okay, you've got the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, who has seemingly dragged teams on his own to Champions League finals, European finals, you know, and won a lot, but that's very few and far between, isn't it? Shall we get on to the Arsenal West Ham game?
Oh, this is going to be interesting, boys.
Hi.
Mike versus Ian.
Clash
Ian
of the Founders.
He's Clash of the Founders. In fairness, I thoroughly think you deserve that result.
So do I.
The reason I say that is because, one, I want to get rid of the manager, and I thought if you'd won, then we would have got rid of him. What can I say? Antonio looked good. Ogbonna did what he does. He got a big head on it with a lot of power behind it, and it went in. I mean, it doesn't matter how it goes in; it went in. I do think that your keeper kept you in that game.
Yep.
He made a number of good saves.
Especially in the first half.
Yeah. I mean, the curling shot from Declan Rice. Great save. He didn't even spill it. He just caught it and bang, that was it. And you think he was perfectly positioned for that. Martinelli, what a player. Goes forward quickly, drives at players and at goal. Deserved his goal. And I think that was a turning point. We completely fell apart. And it
Agreed.
was, 3 goals in 6 minutes, wasn't it? Or something like that?
9 minutes. 9 minutes.
Yeah, bad 10 minutes.
Yeah. It was just that one thing. It was like, oh, bloody hell, that's a player who he didn't play like that in the first half. And then it switched and people switched off. Anderson went missing. Haller went missing.
Was it tiredness, Ian?
No.
It was only 60 minutes into the game.
It's work ethic.
Yeah.
It's work ethic. People will argue with me that Haller is best played as a front 2. We haven't got a front 2, so you've got to make it work on your own. And he's going to. I think what Mark Noble put it the best way. He's at crossroads now. in his career. He either goes back to doing what he knows works, which he seemingly was doing at the beginning of the season, or he grits his teeth and gets on with it. And one of those two things will work. The other one won't, and that'll be the end of it. He said, but he's got to make a decision and get on with it, rather than just moping about and going, "Oh, I need a strike partner. I can't run all 90 minutes on my own." You know, that's the way he's been played. You got to get on with it.
There's lots of other players who do that in the league.
There is, but we're not in a position where we've got the luxury of 10 other players who are banging in goals. They're just not performing. They're not at that level.
Sad times.
It is sad times. I think if we don't pull the trigger soon, a lot of people have said the board haven't backed him. He's made record signings in Anderson. He broke that with Haller. Yes, some of those signings haven't worked out. As we know, Stumpy's my favourite player. But he brought in the likes of Carlos Sanchez, who was a flop at Aston Villa a couple of years ago. Why bring him in? He's not played. When he does, he looks like a donkey. The board have the board have backed him more than any other manager that I can remember. But at some point, they've got to admit they've made a mistake and get rid of him. I think the trouble is when they do get rid of him, they know it's going to cost them a lot of money because he's on. I think he's on 14 million a year.
Wow, is that why you think they're holding on? They're just holding on to him too long now, and they're going to miss chances to pick up.
I haven't checked my facts. I may be wrong. He's one of the highest paid managers in the league. I know that for sure. I wouldn't like to comment how much. I think it's around 14 million a year, but he's also on a 5-year contract.
Wow.
So whenever they get rid of him, it's going to cost them a lot of money. You know, and what they should have done is put in a clause in his contract that if at any point you are in a relegation fight, which we're a point above relegation. If we end up in the bottom 3, bottom 4, even if they think if you ever end up in the bottom 5 and you've lost 5 or more games in a row, we can get rid of you, no compensation. And him as a manager, I think would have taken that because he would have thought that's not going to happen.
Yeah, have some performance clause in there.
Exactly. Like, players have performance bonuses. Why not have a clause in there to say if you're rubbish at your job, we're going to get rid of you? You know,
most people do.
We've had one win in 10. Which is
I know what that
Chelsea.
feels like.
Have you heard what happened to Ancelotti? They haven't won in. Napoli haven't won once in 9 games, and he's got sacked for that.
Yep.
And a few other little bits on the side, but that's a terrible form by anyone's standard, and any manager, any other manager would have their career at threat for that.
He didn't lose 4-0 to Oxford.
In
the middle of that. I mean, why? I think they should get rid of him against Southampton. I think regardless, I think they should get rid of him now. To be fair, because we've got a 2-week break because Liverpool Carabao Cup, Club World Cup. We get a week reprieve before we play them. So there is time for managers to come in. Why not get rid of him and get someone in now?
And this is exactly what I was saying about Unai Emery. Because they could have had that person coming in and working with the squad that you've got and try and make something of it. But
I mean, I get they probably don't want to do it against Southampton because if we then lose that again as well, then that looks bad on that manager's first game. But if he's got 2 days in the job, no, I don't think any West Ham fan in their right mind is going to expect him to win that game.
No, it's like if you're going to play us, are you going to expected to win that one? No. A new manager is not going to do that. And if you've got Pelligrini in the chance, if he's still there, it's going to be a tough one.
That's why we're called the Hammers. But I mean, I've got nothing else really to add about it.
I just want to say a couple of things. Just in relation to that game, for a couple of weeks now, I've been saying to you, Ian, and just recently to you, Phil, just in relation to Pepe, that he is our record signing, and we just haven't seen enough quality from him to kind of warrant that price tag.
Can I pause?
Yeah.
I've got no camera. We're back. We're recording. Technical difficulty over.
Here we go. So yeah, Pepe. As I mentioned, there was a lot of and ahhing about as to whether he was worth the money that we paid for him, and I've got to say,
should have paid more for him after that goal.
Well, do you know what? It was actually nice to see. I mean, I was getting frustrated with him in the first half because there was times when he was trying to run with the ball too much, wasn't giving the passes when he should. But saying that, the second half, come 60 minutes, as I said, it was like a switch had turned on. So it was like a switch had come on, and it was like watching Arsenal from a few years ago when we had the likes of Sanchez in the team. Just the football was fast moving. We weren't pissing around with it, going around the back, playing sideways passes. It was quick, it was fluid. He did make some great runs, got an assist for Aubameyang, which I thought was a great goal. Martinelli, I thought, again, the shining light within the team. He was the one that took the game by the scruff of the neck and was like, right, this is what I'm going to do. A great goal from him for his first goal. And yeah, Pepe, it was nice to see him actually come to the party. The only thing I am worried about is if... Is that going to be him, or are we going to see more to come from him?
I think that now he's got Lundberg playing or managing him, who can directly instruct him what to do and how to play, played in the same position, that he will get the best out of him. He knows the league, he knows how to make it work, and I think playing in that same position, he can give him the advice he needs and that sort of bit of boost of confidence.
I just hope he gets a run of games, because I know when he first kind of started, he was kind of phased into the team gradually and had a run of a couple of games, but was getting subbed off, I think, because of frustration from the fans, possibly, because he didn't really appear to be doing much. But yeah, it was a different class in the second half, and I just hope he does get a run of games and shows what he can do.
Was that because you weren't playing to his to his positives and to his abilities, rather than now that the team's used to it and know how he plays and what sort of style he is, you can actually use his benefits and gain something from it, rather than trying to fit Pepe into a team that's playing in a different way that he's not used to?
I think there's always going to be a degree of bedding in for any player coming in from a foreign league into the Premier League. We've seen it on so many occasions where you have a player that's outstanding in a competitive league overseas, and they come into the Premier League, and it's like a massive, not only a culture shock because you're in a completely new country, you're trying to settle in, make friends and all that sort of stuff, but then that can also have an impact on you playing in the Premier League, because you look at some of the other leagues, they're a lot slower, but it's a lot more ticky-tacky football, where for the Premier League, it's quite fast-paced, it's quite aggressive.
I think you've got 10 games a season, at least in all those other leagues, I say 10, 20 games a season, where it's a write-off. You know you're going to win because there's some real rubbish teams in there. With the Premier League, there are 20 teams who are competitive.
Yeah.
You know, all right, yes, Watford have been having a bit of a torrid time. We've not been playing well. There's a couple of others. But it's irregular. You're still generally going to have a hard game, even if you are going to win it.
Yep.
You have to have your wits about you.
I don't think some of these players are used to having to put in an effort for 38 games a season.
Or plus any cup runs and stuff you go on as well.
Exactly.
And December's such a busy month.
Yes. Yeah.
So the scheduling we have is horrendous, especially if you're playing in Europe as well.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, that's all I've got to say about that game. So
he's a good player, Pepe. He's a really good player, and I do hope he does start improving for you and gives you some hope. I want to see you boys happy.
I think now he's got a goal. his confidence will start to grow, and that's where it will start to click.
But that's where I'm a little bit worried, because obviously you got those 2 absolute blinding free kicks that he scored in Europe not too long ago, and then didn't really get much game time after that. Do you know what I mean? And it was almost like well done, you've done well, you're going to be rested for this game. It doesn't even make the starting lineup in excuse me, some subsequent games. And you're like, how's the poor kid going to try and adapt to that? But yeah, I just as you said, Freddie's been an ex-player for Arsenal. He knows what the values of the clubs are. He knows how we should be playing, and yeah, just hopefully he puts an arm around him, and we do get a tune out of him.
Yeah.
What's it?
Good.
Yes.
Well, I will say it now then. If you haven't already, go out and check out the prediction show. It's a new layout. It's a new way of doing things. Let us know what you think.
Yeah. Comment below.
Like this video. Leave your comments below, as to what you think, whether we're right, wrong, or indifferent.
Share it out there with your friends.
Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. All the handles are above us. Other than that, if you can think of anything else that you want to do with it, then do it. Like, I don't mind.
I won't say what I was going to say.
What were you going to say, Mike? Go on.
No, I'm not going to say that.
Was it not politically correct?
Or
family friendly?
Family friendly, I think is. But all I'm just going to say is that we are 3 beautiful people. So who knows what people might do with it? I'm joking. Ugh. Anyway,
I just clicked
strange
in my mind.
thought to leave it.
Well, we say we have got other videos. We've got Skill School out now. We've got others coming out, other challenges. We're gonna have in the new year some FIFA videos.
If you want to see a challenge, just drop us a note. If you want to see us do a challenge, drop us a note.
We have, and me and Mike, after seeing ourselves in some of these videos, have decided that come January 1st, we're going to have a fitness challenge.
Yes, do it.
We're going to have the FDT TV fitness challenge. So do leave below anything that you think we should do as a forfeit for whoever loses. Because I think we're both going to be going hammer and tongs
to
make that work. And if there's a forfeit in it, then even more
better.
so.
But we need to work out the logistics of it, whether it's going to be weight related, inches related, or
regardless of what it is, Mike. As long as it's sort of heavily pitted that I'm going to win, that's fine. We'll do whatever you like. No, we'll work it out. We'll get something out. We'll have a little bit of a video on that beforehand to let you know what we're aiming for, what we're at the minute.
State the rules.
Yeah, set out some ground rules, and go from there.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Even if I lose, it would just be nice to lose a bit of weight.
Yeah, that's it. It's all good fun, and we got to look sharp, especially because especially because the camera adds like 30 kilograms maybe.
Well, mine was definitely added more than that.
We're not actually as fat as we make out, but it just looks that way on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you later on.
Yeah, nice one. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to click like and subscribe. Check out our other videos, and we'll catch you soon.